Okay, I think we will start. I hope now it is audible. Ravi has said they cannot hear you because I put it on mute. Okay, we will start. Om. Om Badram Karne Bishrunuyama Devaha Badram Pashye Makshabiryajatraha Sthirairangai Tuštuvagam Sastanubihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swastina Indro Vriddashavaha Swastina Pusha Vishvavedaha Swasti nastarksho arishthanemihi Swasti no brihaspatir dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Okay, so we are in the last leg of Mundakopanishad. As we all know, Mundakopanishad has 3 chapters, and each chapter has 2 sections. Therefore, we have finished the first 2 chapters, 2 sections. The third chapter, Pratama Kanda, the first section is also over. So the Upanishad has only some closing formalities now. It is the last section of Mundakopanishad, and we have about 10 mantras which we will see. So as we come to the close of the Upanishad, since we have already spent 5 sections, 2 chapters, 2 sections each, and the first section of chapter 3, I think it is important that we quickly take stock of things and before we go to the final section. So let me quickly take you through the journey so far. So the first Pratama Mundaka had, as we know, they have 2 sections. In the first section, it was this Shaunaka who went to Angirasa and asked him, Kasmin Vijnate Sarvomitam Vijnatam Bhavati. That kind of a question he asked. And in order to answer that, Angiras started, he said Parascha, Aparascha, quick enumeration of Para and Apara Vidya. And very quickly, he also narrated the creation process. There are some 6-7 levels, if you may recall. So that is the first section. Then the second section of the first Mundaka is all about the Karma Marga. So it does celebrate the Karma Marga. It talked about the flames, how one has to actually offer the ahuti, etc. But after about 6-7 mantras in which it talks about the Karma Kanda and the Karma Marga, it starts saying how we have to be very, very diligent. Otherwise, it will have a counter effect. So all those mantras came. So this naturally left the disciple. I mean, there is a very beautiful mantra. I don't know whether if you remember, that is the 11th mantra, I think. It's a very beautiful mantra, 12th mantra. It says, Parikshya Lokan, it's a very nice mantra. Parikshya Lokan Karma Chitan, Brahmano Nirvedamayan Nastya Krito Kritaha. He understood all this is not going to take us too far. Tat Vijnanartham Saha Gurumeva Bigache Samitapaneha Shrotriyam Karmanishtam. I talked about that Pariksha Lokan in great detail. So somehow the Upanishad, by the end of the first Mundaka, has taken us to a situation where we actually need to go through the Karma Kanda, but seriously start thinking about where will it lead us. So that is how the first Mundaka ended, if you may recollect. Then came the Dvitiya Mundaka. And the Dvitiya Mundaka, in the first section, there is such a beautiful description of the Srishti Prakarana. How this Spulingaha, Sahasra Pavakaha, there's a first mantra. How these 1,000 sparks come out of the fire. It starts from there, and the entire 10 mantras there talks about the Srishti Prakarana. How the ultimate source of everything in this world is nothing but the Brahman. If you remember, I had very detailed taken the example of carpenter and furniture and so many rules of Karya and Karana. All those are very nicely brought out in the Srishti Prakaranam. Essentially, that entire section 2.1 of Mundakopanishad is basically trying to tell us Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. That thought was so nicely brought out in that particular section. Then the second section of Dvitiya Mundaka, where the first two mantras are the Lakshyartha of Brahman. What is this Brahman? Again, it emphasizes everything is Brahman. Then brings this beautiful analogy, Dhanurgrihitva Upanishadam. The Upanishad is the arrow, the Dhanus, and the individual is the arrow, the Lakshyam is the Brahman. There is a nice way in which he says, how do you reach the Brahman? Also, the discussion of the Hridi as the Nabi of like the hub of the wheel. So all those that you have to meditate on your Hridi in the Dahara Kasha and all that. And towards the end, the Upanishad in the second section also talked about Vidyate Hridaya Grantihi, Chidyante Asya Samsayaha, all that, all the Tasmin Drishte Paravare. So when you start getting that experience, many of your doubts will just dissolve. Shiyante Asya Karmani, all those will Tasmin Drishte Paravare. So with that, the second section of Mundakopanishad. So in the second section, in the second chapter of Mundakopanishad is the core teaching of that Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya and how do you actually realize it. All those are contained in the second chapter of Mundakopanishad. Similar to what we saw in Taittiriyopanishad. Taittiriyopanishad, it is the second chapter which has the actual teaching. The first and third chapter is only adding it to, bringing us there. Same pattern you see here. The entire Upanishadic core teaching is in the second chapter of Mundakopanishad. Then we move to the third chapter, and in the first section, which I summarized last class, we have this example of the two birds. Dvau Suparna, Samanam Vriksham Parishasva Jate. Tayor Anyaha, Pippalam, Swadu Ati, Anasnan Anyaha, Abhichakashiti. This is our whole idea of two birds in every one of us. How one bird is the Sakshi, which is the Jiva or the Purusha, and the second bird is the Prakriti. So all those details and how it is important to, instead of spending too much time looking at the outside world, it is important to focus the attention inside, because that is the core teaching in the Dvitiya Mundaka, that the place where you realize is inside. So therefore that thought was taken forward by bringing the analogy of the two birds, and the Upanishad said how it is important to turn our attention towards the second bird. And then of course, how do we do it? Satyam, Tapas, Samyak Jnana and Brahmacharya. These four ideas were told in the next few mantras. where all these are very important. And Satyameva Jayate Nandritam Satyasya Panta Vidate Devayanaha. So how this Krama Mukti, people who go on Krama Mukti, invariably they understand truth alone triumphs, everything is that which is existent in all the three times, to focus on that. Because, otherwise we will focus on a lot of things which are not Satya, which will vanish, which we seem to spend a lot of our time, spending too much, giving too much emphasis on the other things. So therefore, Satyameva Jayate Nandritam and so on. And so it finally concludes with a couple of mantras, shlokas 7 to 9, which talks about how you again realize it from within. And what you need is Vishuddha Sattva, how you have to do that, Sadhana Satushtaya, Shat Sampat, all those are very, very important. So all those were said. Then if you remember, the last mantra in the last section is Yam Yam Lokam Manasa Samvibhati. That is the mantra. Yam Yam Lokam Manasa Samvibhati Vishuddha Sattvaha Kamayate Yamscha Kaman Tam Tam Lokam Jayate Tamscha Kaman Tasmat Atmagyam Hi Achayet Bhuti Kama. That is the last mantra. He says Tasmat, therefore, Atmagyam Hi Archayet. You worship the Atmagya, those who actually know this, realize the truth. They are the Atmagnyas. That's why the last mantra in the previous section said, that's what I said here, the importance of the blessings of the Jnanis. So he says, Tasmat Atmagyam Hi Archayet Bhutikamaha. So now that leaves a certain question. That Bhutikama is those who want fame, material richness, an expression of greatness in this universe and so on. So that naturally leaves a certain question in us. Is it all that you get out of a Brahmajnani? Is that what we should do? So the Upanishad ended with that kind of shloka. So therefore, it naturally leaves, what appears to be a very contradicting message. Why should you go for worldly things? And why should you worship an Atmajna for worldly things and so on? So with that thought, the Upanishad ended the first section. Therefore, Upanishad started the second section, which has the last 10 mantras. It started with that question. Therefore, the first shloka that we will see will actually talk about what else can we get out of an Atmajna. So that's where the whole thing starts in the last section of this. So let's look at the mantra. So it says, Savaitat Paramam Brahmadama Yatra Vishwam Nihitam Bhati Shubhram Upasate Purusham Yehya Kamaste Shukrameta Dhiraha. So it says, so let us look at the Padacheda of this. It says, Saha Veda Etat. Veda plus Etat, Vedaitat. A plus A becomes I in, Gunasandhi. So it says, Sa Veda Etat Paramam Brahmadama Yatra Vishwam Nihitam Bhati Shubhram. That is line 1. And line 2 says, Upasate Purusham Ye Hi Akamah Te. All the three words become Hyakamaste. Hi Akamaha Te. Hyakamaste. Shukram Etat Ativartanti Dhiraha. So that is the Padacheda of this. So there are 2 lines here. So the first line says Saha Veda. Saha Veda is he knows. So the question is, who is this he? But anyway, it says Saha Veda. He knows. Etat, this. He knows this. And what this? The rest are all the description of that. The rest are all Saha Veda Etat. It says Paramam Brahma Dhama Yatra Vishwam Nihitam Bhati Shubram. So Saha Veda Etat Paramam Brahma. That's all. He knows that ultimate Brahman. So the first line talks about that, Atmajna. The Atmajna that was talked about in the previous mantra, it is continuing with the same. The Saha actually means Atmajna, because the Atmajna knows the Param Brahma. So that's how the connection is coming. So it says Saha Veda Paramam Brahma. So he knows. So it is now talking about the Atmajna or the Brahmajna. Then the rest of it is the description of the Brahman. It says it is the Dhama. Dhama is the abode. Dhama is, that's why he says Parandhama. He's called Parandhama because Dhama is the substratum or abode. That is the word Dhama means. So that Brahma is the Dhama, abode. For abode for what? That's what the following parts of the mantra says. Yatra, in that abode, what happens? Vishwam Nihitam Bhati. The entire, so it is the Dhamma for the Vishwam. So he is the abode of this entire universe, which is what the second Mundaka was. The Srishti Prakaranam was that. We talked about the Karya and the Karana, how everything came out of it, how he is the substratum, how wood is the substratum for the world of the furniture, how gold is the substratum for the world of ornaments. So that is in the same way, it says that Brahma Dhama Yatra Vishwam Nihitam. This whole world is actually based on that, is resident on that. This entire creation is part of it. And Bhati, and he radiates. He radiates in multiple forms and shapes. In fact, this is what he knows. What he knows is not just the Brahman. That Veda should be for everything. Saha Veda Param Brahma, Saha Veda Brahmameva Dhamaha, Saha Veda Brahmayeva Vishwasya Dhamaha. So like that we have to take. So that realized soul understands that this world is the complete manifestation of the Brahman. The Brahman is the abode of all these things that you see, and the entire world is resident on this Brahman, right? Nihitam Bhati. And so he is radiating in all possible forms and shapes. He radiates in these entire different manifestations that we have, which is called the, in the chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, we call it as Vibhuti Yoga. That's why Krishna also is saying the same thing, that this radiates in everything and so on, and it is Shubram. Shubram is that which is clean, which is pure, which is stainless, all that. So that Veda that you see in the first line must be connected to everything that is written here. So that is what it is. So that Saha, that person who knows all these, is actually Aptakamaha. Atmakamaha, Aptakamaha, as it says in Brihadaranyaka. He is desireless. Because he has transcended all of them and he has understood everything. So that is how the whole thing is coming. So what is this Upanishad first mantra doing? It is actually bringing this Brahmajnani with which ended the last mantra in first section. It said, Tasmat Atmajnam Hi Archaha Bhutika Harchayed Bhutikamaha. So the Upanishad is bringing that connection. Now, what is it saying in the second line? Now, the first line, it brought the same Atmajnani with all this description that he knows. Now you say, see what it is saying in the second line. He says, Upasate. He is being worshipped. That is the second line is starting with the word upasate. So that means that is a verb now. So now the question is, who is being worshipped? Who is worshipping? Who is being worshipped? Why is he being worshipped? All those you can take from the balance. That's the advantage of a verb. That's why verb is very important. I keep saying that quite often. To understand shlokas, we have to catch the verb. So it says upasate. Now the question is, who is doing this worship? That it says dhiraha. At the end of the mantra, it says dhiraha. Then it also here it says akamaha. He akamaha. He is indeed akamaha, which means those who are traveled beyond the domain of desire, kamas, they are worshipping him, worshipping the Brahmajnani, the person who is a realized soul. So he says akamaha purusham. So who is he worshipping? Purusham. That Purusha is described in the first line. That Purusha is the Atmajna or the Vishuddha Sattva. That soul which is pure. It is pure Shuddha Sattva. Vishuddha Sattva. Vishuddha Sattvam Purusham te akamaha upasate. That's what this mantra is now. So it is slowly bringing this into picture. So he says akamaha, those desireless people, purusham upasate. Okay. So what happens when they worship? That's the next question that comes. So then it says, ye upasate te, those who worship, ye and te. So in Sanskrit, jab tab bolta hai na Hindi mein. So like that, ye and te. Ye purusham upasate, akamaha upasate, te shukram adhivartanti. Shukram etat adhivartanti. Te dhiraha. So those people who actually worship a Brahmajnani, those people, shukram etat adhivartante. What is this shukram? Shukram is a word. Shukram is a technical word. Shukram is the seed which a male has, which is planted onto a female, which becomes a fetus. That technical word is shukram. What we say in English, we say sperm, no? That is the Sanskrit word is shukram. So the Upanishad very beautifully brings a concept. It says, shukram etat ativartante. Ativartante means they go beyond. They cross or they transgress or they move forward. So why is it bringing the word shukram? Basically, by bringing the word shukram, it says you are beyond birth. The seed is taken out. They go beyond the seed. The seed is required for a birth. For the taking birth, any number of times you need the seed. So that shukram adhivartante, which means they will not enter into any seed, which means they will never get any birth anymore. So essentially, the Upanishad, in the last mantra in the previous section, it said, go and worship Vishuddha Sattva because you are a Bhutikama. If you are interested in material benefits, fame, you want success, go and worship. That's what it said. But instead of stopping it, it comes back and here it says, go and worship him, you will be liberated also. So that is what is coming through this. So there is a continuity from the last mantra to this mantra. And so essentially it says, in this mantra, it says, if we worship Brahmajna, then we will actually go beyond the cycle of birth and death. This punarapi maranam, punarapi jananam, punarapi janani, jatare shainam, iha samsare, bahudustare, all that will go. But we need to understand something very important. There is an important qualification it has put here for those people who want to worship a Brahmajnani to get that. And that qualification is akamaha. You have to be an akama. You have to have a chitta shuddhi. You have to go beyond this world of desire. Only after you go beyond the world of desire, Then if you go to a Brahmajnani, then you will actually get liberated. If you have a world of desire, and if you go to a Brahmajnani, the Brahmajnani will give you more desire. That is what the earlier mantra is saying. Now we have to connect the whole thing like that now. That's why it said, Tasmat Vishuddha Sattvam Hi Archayet, Bhuti Kama. So now you prepare yourself. Brahmajnani is available. Brahmajnani will bless what we want. The question is, what we want, we have to decide. So in a way, subtly that message is coming here. So it says, Akamaha te Shukram etat adivartanti. Kamaha na akamaha. So therefore, there is a certain preparation required on our side. And with that kind of a preparation, if we actually approach a Brahmajnani, he will make sure that we will go beyond the world of birth and death. Now, that again leaves a bit of a doubt. How come you just go to a Brahmajnani, and if you go to a Brahmajnani, how will you, liberate? What is there? I mean, there are enough experiences of people who talk about it. There are number of people who have been in the Sannadhi of Ramana Maharishi, and like that, any Shuddha Sattva, if you go there in that Sannidhana, in that Sannadhi, people get liberated. But nevertheless, people can still say, how is it that, you just go there and, you get liberated. Now, I was listening to Paramarthananda, this lecture. I found a beautiful shloka he recited. It really captures. I just captured that. He says, first of all, he said, a Brahmajnani and Ishvara are same. There isn't any difference, because both of them are Satya Sankalpaha. Whatever they desire is only for Loka Sangraha. So both are same. So in that context, he quoted, I don't know, he quoted some very beautiful shloka. He says, Dve rupe vasudevascha, charam cha acharam cha. So there are two forms for Vasudeva. One is moving form, another is non-moving form. Charam cha acharam cha. So that is the first line of this shloka. The second line says, Charam sanyasinam rupam acharam pratimasu cha. The non-moving form are in the idols, in the temple. I mean, that's where we see the God. For us, the God is Pratyaksha Devata there. So the shloka says, Dve rupe vasudevascha charam cha acharam cha. Charam chanyasinam rupam acharam cha pratimasu. Acharam pratimasu cha. So it's a nice shloka. So essentially, a Brahmajnani will bless us. He will bless us depending upon what we want. And what we want is a function of the mental disposition that we have. All these are implied. But the Upanishad is so smart, it doesn't want to leave all these in an implied fashion. It wants to say it very openly and explicitly. So there comes the second mantra. So we will see the second mantra and let us see what it says. Kamanya kamayate manyamanaha sakama bhirjayate tatra tatra paryapta kamasya kritatmanastu ihaiva sarve praviliyanti kamaha. So it says, Kaman yaha kamayate manyamanaha saha Kamabihi jayate tatra tatra paryapta kamasya kritatmanaha tu. Kritatmanastu is kritatmanaha tu. Tu is parantu, but otherwise, that is the tu. Paryapta kamasya kritatmanaha tu ihaiva. Ihaiva. Ihaiva is ihaiva. Sarve praviliyanti kamaha. So now Upanishad is actually connecting those two mantras with this mantra. So it says, Kaman yaha kamayate. See, if you look at people, there are a lot of people who have a lot of desires. I mean, that's a journey. Let us not talk ill of them. Let us not talk small of them. Let us recognize that that is part of the sojourn of every soul. I think we should understand it that way. In the context of a Upanishadic teaching, we have to understand it that way. It says there are people with a lot of desires, and the desires are far too many for people cutting across so many things, right? Kamayate manyamanaha. This manas is all the time thinking about that. So, I was just thinking, how do we know what is that in which I am desiring all the time? So I use a simple acid test. I mean, I give a simple acid test to myself. It's a very hypothetical situation. If somebody asks, how do I know what is it that I am so much, where my kamas are? If somebody asks like that, then the simple acid test is, imagine that you are in the house is on fire, you have 10 seconds. You have to run out of the house. Now the question is, and you have an opportunity to take something and go. Just imagine like that. I mean, it may be a hypothetical situation, but I will tell you, some people will run to pick the passbook and run away. Some people will pick up the computer and possibly run away. Some people will pick up the share certificates and run away. I don't know. Some people will pull their wife and run away. I don't know what it is. So what I am saying is the deep in our existence, there may be kamas. And outwardly we may say many things, but that will actually drive. That is the point I want to make. We may not realize it, but many things that we do in our life, you will actually find is actually shaped by that kind of thought processes which run in us. So that is what it says, yaha kaman kamayate. Let us do a proper prose form of that. It says there are two parts to it. There are two verbs here. Please see, there are two verbs here. Kamayate is one verb. Jayate is another. Abhijayate is another word. So now that means there are two parts, and the two verbs can be linked to the separate parts. That's the charm of the verb in Sanskrit. So it says kamayate. So now the question is, who is doing this desire? Yeah, that fellow who. It says who desires. It can be let it be X. That's what yaha means. Let a person called X. He is the one who is kamayate. So that is a pratama vibhakti. That's why swatantram karta. It's a karta which is swatantra. It can stand on its own. Yaha kamayate, that person who desires, then question then is, what is he desiring? Kaman, his set of desires. So the first part also says, what is the process? What is the process in which he desires? That's where the word manyamanaha. The word manyamanaha comes. Manyamanaha means thinking only about it. That's what it means. Thinking only about it is called manyamanaha. So yaha manyamanaha kamayate, kaman. Then comes the second half of the mantra, first line. It says abhijayate. Jayate means goes. Abhijayate means jarur jata hai. Nischayena tatreva vayam gachamah. So abhijayate. Now again there is a verb here. So question is, who goes? Saha. Yaha kamayate, saha abhijayate. That's how it comes. So that person goes there. Kamabihi. In fact, not abhijayate. Kamabihi jayate. Not abhijayate. Kamabihi. Kamabihi. Kamabihi ajayate. Whatever he desired, he will go there. So that's what this is saying. Tatra tatra. Where and all your desires takes, there and all you will go. Tatra tatra jayate. Tatra tatra kamabihi jayate. So essentially, the direction of one's travel in one's life, if you take, The direction of one's travel is decided by karma. You have to deeply introspect on that. I mean, that decides why I did today morning, what am I going to do after this class, what I'm going to do tonight. In the long run, what am I doing? The last 2 years, what I did. Next 3 years, what I'm going to do. Whatever you take. Deepest of deep is the direction of one's travel is decided by one's karmas. That dictates everything about the journey. The speed, the method, because the method also decided by the strength of the karma. If the karma is very strong, we may give the dharma to go by. That also can happen. We'll give up dharma at any cost. I will get. That's why it says, there's a nice shloka in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. Dhyayate vishayan pummah sangasteshu upajayate sanga sanjayate kamah kamat krodho bhijayate krodhat bhavati sammoha sammoha smriti bramshad buddhi nashah. So the 62 and 63, shloka 62 and 63 in Bhagavad Gita exactly says that the desire drives us. The desire launches the agenda for our life. And that agenda for our life translates into a daily agenda. And that daily agenda translates into a hourly agenda, whatever you want to say. I mean, it's all top-down approach. In management, we use the word top-down approach. So that is what happens. So, Sangha Sanjayate Kama, Kamat Krodho, everything happens through that. So, therefore, what it says is all Ajnanis will have this Kama. So, one way to differentiate between a Jnani and Ajnani is that an Ajnani has this Kama. The list can be small or long. The strength of the Kama can be strong and weak. That's all work in progress. That's all we can say. They're all work in progress. At best, we can say only that much. So that is what he's talking about. And that person, kamayate, manyamana, kamayate. And this mantra, Upanishad mantra says that you will be led there. Please understand, you will be led there. There's no other way. So this manyamana is this thinking about it 24/7. That is the meaning of the word manyamana. It is a deep desire that one has, that is called manyamana. That's why kamabhihi tatra tatra jayate. This desire will lead us, it will take us there, and we'll spend a lifetime in that. And out of that, whatever learning, that's the journey. Anyway, that is the journey we go through in multiple janmas. That's how we go through. So that is what this mantra is saying in the first line. Then comes the second line. It says, Paryapta kamasya. So there are two adjectives for that person. One is Paryapta kama. Apta kama, Atma kama. Atma eva, Atmarevihi, Atmanyeva tushtati. That's all. In one of the earlier mantras, we saw it. He is called Paryapta kama, Alam. Again in Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 3, Krishna says, he says, there is no wish list for me, there is nothing, I don't, Tatapi, even then I will do, the mantra is, somebody is asking something in practical Vedanta. Can anyone? Asking. YouTube link, somebody can share, I think they will have to see. It is running in YouTube in any case. I think it is going YouTube live only. You can say, go to the YouTube channel Practical Vedanta, then somebody can even Practical Vedanta, you can put a. Anyway, so what happens is Paryapta kama na avaptavyam na anavaptam avaptavyam varta evacha karmani. Now I remember, that is the shloka. He says, I will continue to be in doing work because even though I have, he is the Paryapta kama. Everything is over. There is nothing more for me to worry. Then Kritatmanastu. So there are the second keyword is Kritatmanaha. Kritatmanaha is one who says, I have achieved. It's nothing more to achieve. That's all. I have no list of desire. So then I will work. I will spend my rest of my life with no axe to grind. I have no bag to carry, no baggage to carry. Therefore, I can very freely do Loka Sangraha. He is a Kritatmana. So, paryapta kamastu kritatmanaha tu, that person who is a paryapta kama and a kritatmanaha, what he says, iha eva. Iha eva means, iha means here. Eva is indeed. Indeed, here itself. What happens? Sarve kamaha praviliyanti. It all dissolve. It all just go away. What does it mean? If it goes away, what it means is he will have a videha mukti. He will reach his mukti. Because all these desires, because we take janma only because there is this karma list. There is these vasanas. Please understand, a person who has desire only will have vasana. Vasanas are nothing but the stains of desire. The stains of desire that we have is actually the cause of punarjanma, because that manifests in terms of vasana. And the vasanas are those karmas. The karma and the vasana takes us from janma after janma. So when he says, sarve kamaha praviliyanti iha eva, that means all his karma balance is nil. His vasanas are wiped off. Which means, like Ramana Maharshi and Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and such great realized souls, it is a videha mukti. So you go to a Brahmajnani, you will get videha mukti. That is what this mantra is saying. Only when you are a paryapta kama, if you have kama, the first line says you go to the same Brahmajnani, they will bless you with more and more of your desire. Go and have your desire. So that is what these two mantras are saying. Now I have to bring some nice commentaries and linkages to Gita. Again, I want to constantly bring Gita because that is the greatness of Gita. This Vishaya is available in Gita in a very nice, simple way. That's why I want to bring Gita also and show how Gita has talked about all these so beautifully. But before that, as I was reading Chinmayananda's commentary, I found some sentences that are so beautiful. So I thought I will share that with you because he has written it so well. So kaman yaha kamayate. That's what this mantra is saying. Kaman yaha kamayate tatra tatra kama vihi jayate saha. Right? So what is that he is talking? He says, as you think, so you become. That's the first sentence he uses. That is very true. That's why our thoughts have to be cleaned. If our thoughts are on some small little things, some chota mota things, small little benefits, which are all very perishable in nature, then we will go only that far. We can't go beyond that. So therefore, as you think, so you become. My often quoted example that, this king was trapped in a forest and one forest hunter got him out of the trap back to the mainland. And the king told, I am the king, Chakravarti of this, come tomorrow, I'll give you whatever you want. And this poor fellow goes there and asks for a little bit of vegetables and 1 kilogram of rice for cooking. He could have asked the kingdom or half the kingdom. He did not ask that. So, as you think, so you become. So, our thoughts have to be lofty. Our thoughts must focus on non-perishable things. We have this big hangover. We spend a lot of our time on perishable matter, power, position, money. I want a good dress. I want a good vehicle. I want a good mobile. I want a comfortable vehicle or a house or a job. I mean, they all have value. But to say that's all what I am is what karma will do. That's why as you think, so you become. That thought must be a peripheral and a occasional thought, rather than a lot of people have spent their lifetime only on that. I want to become famous. One janma is spent on it. I want to make money. What for? When one day you are going to die, how are you going to? There is no demat account here to transfer your money and your left out assets and balances to your third world of where you go. So that is what he is saying. Why he is saying that? He says thought is the expression of creative urge in us. The urge is very creative, but it should be put to good use. That's why the thought has to be Vishuddha Sattva. That's why it should be Shuddha Sattva. If the thought is not very good, then to that extent, the creative urge will be wasteful. So that sentence also I like. He says thought is the expression of the creative urge with us. Then he says creation depends entirely upon the quality and mode of desires in us. So you create your world. God does not create the world for us. So creation is a very big word, but creation responsibility is with each individual. We create the world, we create our future, we create our context, we create our happiness, we create our sorrow also, we create our misery. That's why the creation, each one of us is individually responsible for creation. Nobody else is responsible. We are only responsible for our creation. That's why it depends entirely upon the quality and the mode of desires in us. So I like, there are very good sentences, the way you see it. Then he goes on. Then he says, desires disturb the harnessed nest of stinging thoughts, and the thoughts expressing themselves in the outer world of sense objects or actions of an individual. So what we act in the outside world is driven by this thought. These indriyas will go to the indriyartha, that is the sense object, and that is how we seem to be living our life. So we need to make these connections so well and try to say the origin is in the thought is in the desire. So that is why the Upanishad is saying kamanye kamete manyamanaha te kamabhijayate tatra tatra. So his interpretation is very nice. Then he says desirelessness paryapta kama akamaha shrotriyasya cha akamaha tasya. In Taittiriya Upanishad, it raises a person who is akama to such a level, 10 power 21. Te yeshatam manusha ananda shrotriyasya cha akamaha tasya te ye devanam anandah te ye shatam devanam anandah shrotriyasya cha akamaha tasya akamaha tasya, like that. So desirelessness is certainly a much more glorious state of fulfillment and happiness than to eternally strive and struggle to produce and accumulate the changing demands of the mad and uncontrollable desire. Only Chimnyananda can write such powerful sentences. He says this desire is so low level because it produces only something which is asatya, changing. It changes. You work for something today morning and today evening, you think that's nonsense, you go for something else. Then all those effort is actually wasteful, no? In some ways. So the mad and uncontrollable desires keep on changing us. And trying to work for it, he says, is a lower level of putting effort. Whereas he said desirelessness is much, much greater and much, much bigger and so on. We have some nice commentaries like that. I thought I will just, bring that. Then we will move on to what Gita is saying. Because all these ideas are available in Gita in such simple forms and so beautifully. So let us look at Gita, what he says, Kama birjayate tatra tatra. How does it say? Say, yo yam tanum bhaktaha shraddayarchitum ichchati tasya chalam shraddam tameva vidadhamyaham. Here the word Shraddha has to be understood. Shraddha comes, Shraddha kamasya mataram. There is one Shraddha Sukta in which it says Shraddha is the mother of desire. That because of the desire I show Shraddha. And because of my Shraddha, my desire will actually fulfill. You need Shraddha. Only then you will deliver what you want to deliver. So his Shraddha will drive the desire. That's how you have to understand. So he says, yo yam tanum bhaktaha. Whatever body you want to take. Body means whatever avatar you want to take. Whatever you want to be. Whatever you want to be. Right? My bhakta, shraddayarchitum ichchati. So you can go to a Atmajnani as a bhutikama. Then you will get only that. That's what Krishna is saying here. Tasya achalam shraddam tamev vidadamyaham. If you want a lot of riches, I'll give you riches. That's why this story I have told to some people. I don't know whether I have told it in the class. I remember the story. Vishnu and Narada goes. Both of them go to a very rich man's house who is a bhakta. But his bhakti is he is a bhutikama. He is a bhakta, genuine bhakta, but he is a bhutikama. He wants more riches and so on. So both of them go, and then they go and tell Vishnu, says, I am Vishnu, I have come. So this bhakta was in ecstasy. So he serves him all that he can serve with bhakti and all that. He stays there. And then next day he leaves. Then Vishnu gives him a lot of blessing. He says, you will get more riches, you will become more richer, you will get all the even more riches and so on. Yeah, and that bhakta is very happy. Then they move on. They go to another bhakta who is a very poor person with just one cow. Absolute poor. He is also a true bhakta. So he goes there and Vishnu and Narada go, and then Vishnu says, I am Vishnu. So this this person just melts. His bhakti is so pure and all that, he also melts. He doesn't know what to do, and whatever little he has, he offers. Whatever he could do it very genuinely and all that. After that, Vishnu next day leaves, and then he also blesses him, but he blesses by murmuring. And then they come out. Then Narada asked, what did you bless him? You did not, I didn't hear you. Then Vishnu said, I blessed that let the cow die. So this Narada was a little perplexed. Even he is high quality between the two bhaktas. If you really ask me to choose, I will choose him. He's a high quality bhakta, but why are you? And he's struggling. His only source of income was that cow with which he had little milk and so on. You are now saying that the cow also died. Then Vishnu smiled at him and said, he is 99.9999% with me. That cow is why he is not totally surrendered unto me. So I will not give him only that kind of blessing. I remove the cow, he will come unto me. So that's what this shloka is saying. What you want, I will give. That's what he's saying. So if you are a bhutikama, you will get bhuti. That mantra is being stored. Look at the next one. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajantyante kalevaram tam tameveti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitah. This is the art of dying. Your last moments dictate where you will go. Antitai tyajanti ante kalevaram. When they give up this mortal body and go, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. What comes to your mind is your desire. That desire will only you carry with you. That's what this shloka is saying. So he says, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tameveti kaunte. You will reach only that. You will get only that. So both these shlokas are saying that your desire chalks out your path, and with your path which is chalked out by your desire, you offer a genuine bhakti to me, you will get only that. I will not give you, so you are so good bhakti, so I will give you something other than what you ask for. That never works like that. That's why go to Atmajnani as a bhuti kama, you will get your bhuti. Whereas if you go to Atmajna with as a paryapta kama and kritatmana, you will get liberated from birth and death. So that is coming through these two shlokas which you see. Paryapta kama tata kritatmanah. That also is available in Bhagavad Gita. Who is that? How does he look like? Look at this shloka in chapter 2. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudrama apapravishanti yadvat tadvat kamam yam pravishanti sarve sashanti mapnoti nakamakami. It says apuryamanam. It's all brimming with fullness. Achalam, it doesn't even shake. Apuryamanam achalam pratishtam. It is fixed. It is not wavering. It is not running here and there like a river. The ocean is there. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudram apaha pravishanti yadvat. Just like when the greatest river in the world empties trillion tons of water into Brahmaputra and Ganges. Brahmaputra is a huge river. Ganges is also a huge river. Both of them have already joined before they come to Bay of Bengal. That's why the Sundarban area is so huge, because it's all two great rivers. It is the basin of two great rivers. So that place is full of water. But even when you empty all that water into Bay of Bengal doesn't even shake. That's what this is saying. Samudramapaha pravishanti yadvat, like that, tadvat, in the same way, kamaha yam pravishanti sarve. When you engage in the world, so many things happen. You engage in the world, kamaha pravishanti means, you engage in action, where there's some residual karma, that's why actions are happening. But nakama kami, nakama kami, nakama kami, nakama kami. So a person who is beyond this thing, shanti apnoti. Right? That's what he says. Tadvat kama pravishanti sarve sa shanti apnoti. He actually gets shanti. Na kama kami. Those who have kama will never have shanti. Because, it's all a state of, it's not enough. What I have done is not enough. I have to do a little bit more. This has not satisfied me. I need some more, like that. Whereas a paryapta kama, if you ask how will a paryapta kama look like, how will be a kritatmanaha? Apuryamana machala pratishtam samudramapaha pravishanti yadvat tadvat paryapta kamaha tata kritatmanaha bhavati. So that idea is also available in Gita. So that is how Gita actually brings the best of Upanishad always. That's why Bhagavad Gita is always a Prasthanatraya. So these are the first two mantras of the last section. Basically, the last section is in some ways, it's all closing formalities. For example, you'll have a mantra which says that if somebody is a Brahmajnani, if he has a Brahmaheva Bhavati, Brahmajnaha Brahmaheva Bhavati, Sa Brahmaheva Bhavati, such kind of mantras are coming. Then he says, in his generation, nobody will be born who will not know Brahman. Like that, all those mantras are there. It's all sort of closing formalities. But initially, it emphasizes that what kind of preparation of mind we should do to get this Mahan Shreyas. So that is what the Upanishad is trying to conclude with these set of mantras. We have seen the two mantras today. We will close it here and continue in the next class. With this, we will close. Om Purnamad Ida Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Next week, I am doing a 3-day residential workshop, which will end only by Sunday evening. So, although it ends at 4 o'clock, I am not very sure whether I will be able to do this class. Let us see. Okay. Shubharat.